Eat the food you hate, vomit, and eat it again. Jeez, who from the cast had to do that awful job? Was it hard for the cast to study at school and act on the set at the same time? And what gross fan video made the whole film crew scream at the top of their lungs? Eat food you hate. You think filming is easy? Oh, hell no. Imagine food you hate, and then imagine you have to eat it take after take, again and again, until the director is happy with the final result. See? Not all that easy. The same thing happened to Jenette McCurdy, aka Sam, who had to eat several things she truly hated. There are times when I have had to eat food that I hate. Like, for example, the pie. Or, in the first episode, I had to eat so much ham I threw up, and then I had to go eat more. That was horrible. I had to eat Cheese Whiz. I didn't like that. Jeez. Sounds awful. However, that's what the strict reality for poor Jenette was. And it all started on her very first day of work. Well, at the same time, for us, it's almost impossible to imagine Sam not loving ham, right?
Let's ask her.
After I get some ham.
What's going on?
Some things are more important than ham.
Don't you ever say that to me.
Jenette revealed to Rosie O'Donnell in 2012 that she hasn't had ham since the show ended. She also added that the props department worked hard to make the food as good as possible for her, but still, she couldn't stand it.
Now, which of you Americans would like to be the first to try a Canadian fat cake?
Hey, I wouldn't mind being the first.
May I?
Before we move to the next part of the video, make sure you're subscribed to our channel so you don't miss any news about your favorite celebs and shows. Balancing between filming and school. Yes, despite the fact that the young actors were superstars, they still had to go to school.
Kids always ask me if we go to school, and I'm like,
Of course we go to school.
All week long, like everyone else.
So when they were not working on set, they were studying, you know, like normal kids do, though with a few exceptions. For example, the iCarly actors and actresses had to have at least 3 hours of school every single day. According to the California child labor laws, for the entertainment industry, kids younger than 18 years old can't work for more than 10 hours per day, which actually sounds like a hell of a lot, especially taking into account that they still need to do school. Things changed a little during the school term. In this case, the actors and actresses could only work 6 hours per day, giving them more time to focus on their studying.
When you're in the middle of shooting and they know that they're gonna have a break soon and that you're not in the scene, it's like, okay, run up to school.
Incredibly tough. So, if you thought that being a young star is just about having fun and living your best life without any stresses or studying, think again. No improvising. Do as you're told.
Bad bear!
Never do that again!
You're not the boss of me.
Okay, at least the actors were allowed to be creative and improvise, you might think. Not really. All the lines you hear in the series were approved by the screenwriters first. Even the smallest jokes. Yes, even the ones that sounded like they were 100% improvised were completely scripted. So next time you think that you would love to be an actress or actor, keep in mind the next fact. You can only do what the showrunners tell you to do. Sad, but true. However, there were some exceptions. For example, Trainor and Miranda Cosgrove, who were the most trained actors, were allowed to do some improv in their comedy performances. But even they had to get special permission for that. Moving on to the next crazy thing about iCarly's set. The only replica available. We all remember Sam's remote, right? It was an important part of iCarly's web show that, according to Freddie, was able to produce 93 sound effects. What do you guys think? How many replicas of the remote do you think there were? You think there'd be multiple copies for such an important prop, right? Well, in the case of Sam's remote, there was only one replica. What? Yes, it was confirmed by the show creator, Dan Schneider. The showrunner even said that he would take the remote home with him at the end of every filming day so that nobody could steal it. Jeez, didn't they have enough money to make some copies? Or maybe this prop was so important to Mr. Schneider that he wanted it to exist as the only replica. If this was the case, then we have bad news for the showrunner. Sam's remote can be bought almost everywhere nowadays. There's even an app called Sam's Remote. Though it's always great to find out about such a crazy fact from the set. Get yourself a male stunt double, even if you're a female. That's right, there was an actress in iCarly that had a male stunt double. Any ideas which one? How about the actress who portrayed Sam Puckett, for example? Yes, Jenette's character had some seriously physical scenes, and we have to admit, they were tough. That's why Jenette had to pass her role on to a man hero, a true professional who'd be able to do the role just right. Anytime you saw me with a hammer or sledgehammer, that was always me. But one time, I had to lift either Gabby or Freddie over my shoulder, and they had a stunt double for that. It was a man, said McCurdy. Here's the moment. Well, that's what we call the magic of filmmaking. Learn to deal with your personal tragedy. This is the most heartbreaking issue that Jenette McCurdy had to deal with during the production process. Her mother's cancer. The actress shared with the Wall Street Journal the true story of dealing with the disease in her family. The story started long before iCarly, in 1995. And back in those days, her mother's disease was in remission, and the McCurdys thought it was all behind them. But sadly, the cancer returned 15 years later, and Jenette had to deal with the hardest period of her life while filming a comedy show. It's unbelievable to imagine what she went through with her family. They all struggled for 2 years, and tragically, it ended with Jenette's mother passing away. Soon after, the production of the show was over. Jenette was extremely grateful to all her friends and filming crew for their infinite support. We want to extend our condolences to the actress and her family. Love you, dear Jenette. Be respectful to the source material. Hey, do you like Freddie as much as we do?
Control, Freddie. Bad thoughts lead to bad actions.
Then you'll be surprised to know the origin of his character's name. Believe it or not, but the writers came up with it based on a very old-school movie character whose name was Freddie Benson, actually. Yep, this fictional man comes from a movie called Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, which, by the way, is a remake of the movie Bedtime Story made in 1964. Wow, so are these two characters alike? Not at all. Then what inspired the writers so much about this character that they brought his name back to life decades later? The most honest answer here is nobody knows. The writers of iCarly didn't give any insights, except that they really adored this character in the original movies. Maybe your folks know any details about this mysterious reference. Let us know in the comments. Be ready for any changes. Can you imagine iCarly being a different show? We mean completely different. According to the showrunner, Dan Schneider, originally he wanted to name the series Starstruck, yes. And Miranda Cosgrove would play not Carly, but Josie. Wait, who's Josie, you may ask? That was the original name of Miranda's character, who was always considered to play the leading role. And Mr. Schneider was so certain about her name that he even bought the domain iJosie.com. But it didn't stick in his mind. That's when he wanted to name Miranda's character Sam. And in this case, Jenette's character would have been named Kira. What a mess that would have been. And not only were the names and title nearly different, but the story was too. Originally, Miranda was going to play a completely different character, a girl who dreamed of being part of her favorite TV show, not creating it with her friends. So the original version of the series would have been about Carly, or Josie, or Sam, navigating the insane world of television and stardom. But it just didn't sound like a very engaging concept for the showrunner. Thankfully, he changed it to the one we all know and love today. Can you imagine working in conditions where everything is changing drastically all the time? Poor actors and actresses. But it wasn't all that bad and strict on set. Just so we don't end our video on a tough note, here's some bonus info for you. Don't forget to have fun on set.
We don't know when it's gonna go off.
But when it does, you're gonna see some.
Yep, and that's what the cast tried their best to do when they weren't so busy acting and doing schoolwork. For example, Jenette was always ready to prank the filming crew. How exactly? Well, she convinced everyone that her name was Jenette. What? Exactly. And more than that, she continued the joke for weeks. At first, everybody didn't believe me and started making fun of me. Then everyone was convinced that my name was Jenette. By the time I told them it was not, they didn't believe me. Cause that's what happens when you lie to people, Jenette. As many of you out there know, fans could actually go onto iCarly.com and send their videos and suggestions in order to interact with the show's creators. And later, their feedback could be incorporated into the series. The actors would watch those videos and have a real reaction, which was pretty cool, right? Miranda Cosgrove once shared on Jimmy Kimmel's show the craziest video she and the rest of the cast received from their fans. The video that made the whole crew laugh out loud. We've got this guy who could squirt milk out of his eyes. It was so gross. He sucked it up through his nose and squirted it out of his eyes. Oh my god, it sounds disgusting. So in the show, you could see the very real reaction of the cast.
Screaming at the top of our lungs. It was really crazy.
Did you guys hear any other cool facts about iCarly? Let us know in the comments. Like the video if you enjoyed the content. And as always, thanks for watching.